Доложили, сомнений нет. Это теракт, направленный на разрушение, критически важный.
Why does Putin fear this? What exactly is it?
Well, Vladimir Putin has said today that the weapons used by Russia's military need to be modernized.
If you believe the Russian Ministry of Defense, it is the most dangerous stealth fighter ever created, and capable of taking out 10 American F-22 Raptors with just one missile. But why is a Russian aircraft that they claim is more sophisticated than American F-22 and F-35 planes glaringly absent over the skies of Ukraine, precisely where Russian forces need it most? The Su-57 is a Russian multirole fighter that's Russia's first attempt at a fifth-generation aircraft. It was conceived in 1999 after its predecessor, the McCoy Project 144, proved too expensive to put into production. Project 144 was meant to be an answer to America's own F-22, which was at the time nearing completion and initial operational capability. However, the collapse of the Soviet Union led to an economic crisis, and the project struggled to find adequate funding. The 144 would have its maiden flight in February 2000, and then be cancelled shortly after. The Felon was meant to build upon the successes of the 144 and built a true fifth-generation fighter. By now, the United States was starting to turn out the F-22 Raptor, and Russia had no answer to this critical threat. Although the Felon was supposed to create a fleet of fighters by the middle of the 2000s, it would not deliver its first operational aircraft until 2020. This was nearly impossible due to funding issues with the program. However, Russia couldn't afford to manufacture the Su-57 on its own, and issues started as soon as Russia and India agreed to collaborate on its development in September 2010. India and its engineers, however, expressed grave worries about the aircraft's capabilities and viability against American fifth-generation fighters as the project advanced. By 2014, India had lost faith in the Su-57 and formally abandoned the program, leaving Russia to finance it on its own. This immediately put a massive financial strain on Russia, further compounded by sanctions of high-technology goods from the West after its annexation of Crimea. The 257 struggled through development, and a fleet once envisioned to consist of over 100 aircraft ended up producing only a dozen or so test models. In 2018, Russia claimed that the Su-57 took part in combat operations in Syria. However, there's no real proof that the jet performed any combat duties in the country. It's very likely, then, that Russia merely deployed the plane there to fly a few non-combat sorties so as to attempt to rouse interest from foreign investors, a very common tactic by the Russian defense industry. With a poorly diversified economy under pressure from sanctions, Russia relies heavily on foreign buyers to fund its weapons development programs. Despite no verifiable proof of the plane's combat record, Russia claims that it partook in combat operations, both in Syria and now in Ukraine, where Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu claimed that Su-57s took part in operations to neutralize Ukrainian air defenses, eliminating multiple Ukrainian surface-to-air missile batteries. Since we've all learned that Russia literally never lies ever, this is an impressive feat for an airplane that's technically still in development. What's more impressive about this claim, however, is the fact that the 257 is not even believed by Western observers to be a true stealth aircraft, merely one with stealth characteristics. Observers point to difficulties by the Russians, joining panels of the body together tightly enough to reduce radar return. As well as its glaringly non-stealthy engines, the body of the aircraft is also significantly less stealthy than its American counterparts, giving off far larger radar returns from the sides and rear. This, however, is in line with the Russian philosophy of operating aircraft only within the safety of ground-based air defenses. The Russians simply couldn't afford to field an all-aspect stealth aircraft, and thus focused only on frontal stealth. The aircraft also appears to lack another quality of fifth-generation fighter data link capabilities. While tests are underway to have the 257 speak with a drone companion, this is far from the capabilities of the US F-35, which can operate as a sort of mini air control platform in place of traditional AWACS, speaking with a variety of friendly aircraft, and help guide weapons and planes to their targets. However, the Su-57 does have some design advantages over real fifth-generation aircraft in America's arsenal. For one, it's far more maneuverable than any US aircraft. And this is a big clue to the fact that the Russians know this is not a peer to an American fifth-generation fighter. That's because the supermaneuverability is not a design feature of a traditional thick-skin aircraft, which are designed to operate as assassins, not night fighters. F are built to engage enemy targets from beyond visual range with advanced AIM 120B missiles that have ranges in excess of 90 miles. Not only is this missile range outside the range of most other enemy missiles, but the stealth characteristics of an F-22 or F-35 means that an enemy being fired on won't even be able to detect the stealth fighter until it's much, much closer. Estimated at about 3 dozen or so miles, with limited internal payloads of 6 to 8 missiles, stealth aircraft should never be involved in a dogfight. Thus, supermaneuverability is only desired if you have reason to believe your aircraft will be forced into dogfights because it's not stealthy enough or has the targeting capabilities to engage in a long-range fight. So while the Su-57 is capable of some truly impressive acrobatic feats, this will be meaningless in over 90% of engagements against an adversary such as the U.S. Air Force. Clues to the fact that the Su-57 is not a true stealth aircraft are its cheek-mounted radars, which allow it to guide missiles to targets at far more extreme angles than its American counterpart. This allows the Su-57 to turn further away from its target than an American plane and still maintain a good radar lock. But you only build this capability if you expect your aircraft to have to fight at close ranges where extreme maneuvers are required, or if you expect your aircraft to have to notch or defend against enemy missiles while guiding its own to the target. It's likely the Russians knew from the start that Felon Wood is detectable at far greater range than U.S. aircraft and would need the ability to maneuver away from incoming missiles while maintaining a lock for its own. Despite this, the Russian Ministry of Defense claims the Tu-157 is not just a match, but superior to the F-22 and F-35. If that's the case, then where is Russia's premier aircraft when its army needs it the most? In the skies over Ukraine. First, if all claims about the Su-57 are true, Russia simply wouldn't be able to field them in large enough numbers to make much of a difference. If your military is having to strip washers and microwaves for microchips, you're not going to be fielding 100 stealth fighters in 5 years. Secondly, the plane was almost certainly not nearly as capable as Russia claims it to be, and the last thing Russia wants is the embarrassment of having one shot down by Ukraine. Russia has lost an estimated 144 aircraft in the war, with 24 of those being frontline manned fighters or ground attack aircraft. The threat environment is too high for Russia to risk the PR disaster that would ensure if a felon was shot down by the Ukrainians.